Hey, everybody, welcome to a new and updated version of Unlocking Service Growth. For those of you who are familiar with this program, I actually ran it with a colleague and friend in the commercial roofing industry, a gentleman by the name of Greg Hain with Hain Coaching Group. And we ran, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so of these programs, and we loved it. But as I kind of grew our footprint, and Greg had shared a desire to get more into kind of like transitional life coaching and helping executives think about what's next and focus only on peer groups and less on service. Got to thinking about how powerful that program was for our business, for the industry. I started to think for some time, like, I would like to bring that back. And then so a couple of years ago, Aaron, who I'll introduce to you guys in a moment, Aaron approached me when we were at IRE. We had a booth, and he walks up and he's like, "Hey, I would like to talk to you and get to know you and talk to you about what we're doing." And that started a conversation. And he shared with me what he's doing in the commercial roofing industry specifically. And so I started to look back at the power of this webinar program that I had done with Greg Hain. And Greg Hain and I essentially would dig into our network and invite like high performing commercial roofing companies who are growing service. And we know the power of growing service. We know that it's a low barrier to entry to build relationships with accounts that have fast cash flow, higher margins, and allows for a strategy where you're building relationships with building owners, property managers, facility managers, regional groups, real estate investment trusts, whatever it may be. And that actually helps you gain access to earn the right to get the re-roofing jobs. I just got really focused on that. I said, man, that creates predictable revenue. That's not storm dependent, safe from an economic standpoint where, the highs and lows of the economy don't necessarily affect service because buildings always need to be repaired. Yeah, we just started interviewing folks, and it was really great. We're going to dig up more of those archives and have those available because I've done a poor job publishing those. To kind of fast forward, Aaron and I started chatting, and I asked, "Hey, Aaron, what about joining me and becoming the new co-host for USG?" And so Aaron and I chatted about it, and he said yes. And so now here we are. Aaron Weinstein, and am I saying it correctly? Weinstein or Weinstein? I want to say it right.
It's Weinstein, but
Weinstein. All right.
commonly mispronounced.
Aaron Weinstein joining me to be the co-host of USG because Aaron has a passion for commercial roofing, and I've already seen it on display. If you're not connecting with him on LinkedIn, you're missing out because he posts probably 3 to 4 times a week on things they're doing in the industry, and it's really, really cool. I just want to take a moment to, introduce Aaron, who's my official new co-host of USG, and then I'll take it back for a moment. Aaron, welcome to the show as a co-host. Can you let everybody know who you are, your background, and things like that?
Yeah, 100%. Ryan, thank you for the intro and very excited to be with you on USG. Also want to acknowledge all the great work that Greg Hain continues to do. He's been a really great, I would say, person who's just helped me get acclimated with the industry after we founded Terial a little over 2 years ago. High level background for me, everyone. If we haven't met, I am the co-founder and CEO of Terial. And at Terial, we really are a workflow automation platform. What that means is we help cover everything from sales, estimating management, service dispatching to large scale project management. So the goal here is to cover all the different workflows that you're doing day to day within your commercial roofing business. We do support folks who do some amount of residential as well, but our primary focus has been the commercial roofing industry and contractors across the country. We've been around for about 2 years. We're now supporting dozens of contractors, hundreds of users and individuals all over the country. And it's been really like a joy building this business. And as a background, I didn't grow up within roofing, but have family within the GC and specialty contractor space. So I've always had an appreciation for the trades and this industry. And I think we're at a pivotal moment just in kind of trajectory of technology where I think you're now seeing the benefit of technology helping businesses like a Damschroder, for example, level up and really help achieve profitability goals and growth goals. So very excited to have them as our first guest, but I'll pass it back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Aaron. It's great to have you. The way these work, we'll invite a high-performing contractor who's grown service, who has experience and best practices to share. Both Aaron and I will ask questions that you guys may be thinking of asking, and then we're going to make room for you to ask questions. The idea here is that you guys are thinking, if I want to unlock service growth, I can get information today that'll move the needle tomorrow. Like that's the idea. My background, just for you guys who don't know me, after a professional college baseball career, I was like, went all in. I'm like, what's next? I started to look around, and I started networking in South Florida, where I was living at the time, where I met my wife. And I was like, I got to make some money, and I'm going to work hard, and I just got to figure this out. Where do I go? So I looked all different avenues, and I met a large roofing contractor who built a sales CRM for their own business, a gentleman by the name of Greg Wallach, and his company's called Best Roofing. He's actually sold to private equity. He's basically retired now, built his business, and I was very close to I was very close up and a part of Best Roofing sales organization. And something that they did differently at Best Roofing, they focus on training salespeople and having more of a less estimators, more sales reps could really develop those sales skills. So I saw their whole sales org was a big part of it. And what the big change was focusing on service as opposed to new construction after the recession hit. And I saw the service revenue increase. And then as service revenue increased, the re-roof increased, and then they did no new construction. And then they had basically, an $80 million business doing all service and re-roof, up to 20 plus million a year in service and 60 plus million a year in re-roof. It's a fantastic business, and saw the growth, and focusing on service and then focusing on sales excellence while leading with service was a huge part of their growth. It's not the only part, but it's a huge part. That's why there's a lot of passion here, because I'm like, man, if you want a predictable revenue, you want a consistent business, this is great. Over the years, we've met some great people, and some of those great people are our guests here today. The friends of mine at Damschroder, I met the owner, Dana, at a Duralast event in like Orlando. I want to say in 2018 or 19. We were at the cocktail bar area, and I just like threw out a positioning statement. And he grabbed a hold of it, and we had a conversation. I brought him onto our course and group coaching platform, and eventually Ian took over sales. And then after they've grown, Ron's joined, and it's just been amazing to see them grow. Well, first off, I'm going to thank you guys for jumping on this webinar here today. Ron and Ian, we really appreciate it. Why don't you say hello and introduce yourself to the group and tell us about you and Damschroder?
Ron Krieger, I'm the CEO. Thanks for having us, guys. Really appreciate it. And thanks for your friendship these last 2 years for me, and even longer for Ian. It's interesting, Aaron. I didn't realize your background. I just heard it for the first time in terms of sort of growing up with a family that was involved in the trades, yourself not being involved in the trades. That's true for me as well. After I graduated high school, I did a couple of different jobs, blue collar type, manual labor type jobs. Got into business school, graduated from there, went to law school, graduated from there. Meanwhile, was working while in school. Landed at the Court of Appeals in Northwest Ohio, where I'm from, and worked there for about 12 years before coming on to Damschroder, and just was exposed to all sorts of different areas in the law. The timing was right. The owner here, Dana, was looking for someone to partner up with him and help him run the business. And the business had grown significantly under Dana's leadership and with Ian's help, especially on the sales side. The organization was large enough to require some real leadership, and the timing was right. So 2 years ago, joined the team, and since then have just been immersed in learning the practical side of the business, and then bringing whatever level of expertise I've been able to bring to sort of the more professional side of the business and the behind the scenes. Thrilled to be here today with you guys. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to talk with you guys and everyone in the chat.
Ian Rammel here. Ryan, Aaron, thanks again for having us on. A real privilege, and excited to answer any questions thrown our way. Like my bio says, I started out on the roof shooting screws in 2013. Dana was nice enough to offer me a position up in sales in 2016. I struggled immensely as I got no training, but that came along, and in 2019, 2020, Dana decided to kind of make a change in the business with EOS. He put me in the leadership role over the sales department, and that's when Ryan, you and I kind of really started connecting, and we really started implementing STG strategies and baseline selling. And that's where we really saw some traction on the growth side, getting us from 5 million to 25 million within a very short window. And that's kind of the high 30,000 view of my career in the roofing industry.
I love watching that trajectory because you did a great job saying, "Hey, we're at 5 million. I'm getting training." Dana saw the potential, saw your drive. You were like an MMA fighter. You had an MMA fighter background. You love to compete. You saw the business, you saw the opportunity, and you started to focus on sales. So you went from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 25. So like a 4 or 5 year period.
Yep.
And now you guys, you built a sales team. You've done cold outreach. You've cold called. You guys have brought new salespeople in who didn't have sales experience. You train them on sales. You guys have a great platform at Damschroder to serve people and for sales reps to be successful. But I noticed that there was a fragmentation with sales and then service. And so a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, maybe it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'm trying to remember the exact timing. I was at your office doing a training and I was just like, "Hey, I think we have a problem here." Sales guys were like, we can't control the service relationship. Like we don't have any impact on it. Although we're trying to build a relationship, we can't really do anything about it. That affected the business and service was kind of stuck. Let me just show you what we do. This format is the guests are going to share their journey of growth, their lessons learned, the biggest takeaways. Aaron and I will ask questions, and then you guys will ask questions. So you guys are going to be able to do that through the chat, or I'll unmute you. And then we'll ensure all questions are answered before we're all done. Ron and Ian, do you have anything you want to lead with? And then Aaron and I will have some questions for you in terms of the journey of growth and lessons learned.
Okay, I'll just go right into and kind of answer your lead question there on the issue that we had at hand with how we handled sales and service. We definitely had we kind of siloed our company, for lack of a better term there. Sales was in charge of production only sales, and if a opportunity was found that was service work or coding, that went over to our service department, which was headed up by our then service director. And then we were left out of the talks. So we do the initial meet and greet. We uncover what the real problem is and what they actually need. We do all these questions and uncover the budget and things of that nature, and then we just pass it over and we're left off. And a lot of times customers are like, "Well, I'm a little confused. I just dealt with you." And sometimes the handoff wasn't smooth, and it was just a real problem. And the sales team really felt that they're doing this work with no control over it. They would bring it up to me, and we would discuss it on a leadership team level. But the issue was, when we were a $5 million company, it worked well. We had 3 sales reps at that time, and it worked well to pass that stuff off. But as we continued to grow, when those opportunities became more and more and more, it was just too much for the one person to handle. And we were trying to get everybody on the same page and be on board with it, so it would be a better fit for the company, which I think is what we're seeing now.
Yeah. We're in the relationship business. I mean, we lay roofs, we service roofs, and of course that's what customers hire us to do. But we're in the relationship business, and what was happening is, as we were growing, those relationships were being strained by too many points of contact with Damschroder. And so the people who are experts at relationships in the organization oftentimes are the salespeople. And yet we were handing off those valued relationships that the salespeople had worked so hard to build to other parts of the business. And then it was hands off for the salespeople. And that did create definite tension and frustration, not only with the customers, but even at times within the organization, with 2 different departments functioning a little bit too independent of one another. And so the way that we're doing it now seems to be working a lot better. And it has definitely brought the organization as a whole closer together, more cohesive. One of our core values is family, not only our customer base as our family members, but especially our team here as family. And I think it's brought us closer together as a family to make this shift.
Thanks for sharing the story. One of the things we hear all the time is, hey, we run our business in silos, right? And it works maybe at 5, it doesn't work at 25. Can you talk about how the team, what some of the benefit of kind of unlocking those silos from a data perspective has been, whether it's reducing callbacks, increasing profitability, things like that you've now been able to see everything on one clear playing field?
Definitely, we're closing more work. I mean, I would just say that, especially on the service side. The people who are experts at servicing the customer, communicating with the customer, and closing work are the ones handling the whole relationship. The data is a lot more reliable because there's one person entering it, one manager managing it and overseeing it, and holding one group of people accountable for, start to finish, the beginning of the relationship all the way through to completion of the work. That's been a big benefit, I think, Ian, in allowing you to really unlocking his ability to do what he does so well, which is to hold his guys accountable and encourage them, motivate them, and make sure that the customer is getting what the customer deserves, which is a great interaction with us and continued business moving forwards. I think it's just made the integrity of the data a lot stronger because there aren't competing interests within the organization to skew the data in one direction or another. The data just speaks for itself now, rather than having to be interpreted by multiple different departments, potentially in different ways to suit different interests.
Regarding like technology use and how it's streamlined the process. We are Terial users, so this isn't a plug. I'm just speaking on what we use. My salesmen are able to go out there and inspect a roof. And while they're able to do that out there, they're able to input pictures into the opportunity that they've created. And once that's done, it allows visibility across the entire company. So if it is a production opportunity, we can get some of our project managers on maybe a detail that's a little tricky, that they can get eyes on it. If it goes into the service side, they don't have to send out somebody to go look at it because we've collected all the information. We've really been able to streamline the process to make things a lot faster and smoother for our customers. And as far as the data points go, it's very simple to see the data in Terial, on how many opportunities we're creating, what we're closing, the reasons why we aren't closing, and it's just a very nice platform to have, and being able to get all that information in one spot at a moment's notice to make some very data-driven decisions.
I noticed that, I've talked to a lot of commercial roofing companies over the years, and there's a lot of times where I run into a business and they're like, I was like, who sells service? And they're like, our service manager. The service manager also does what? They also manage, manage everything. They oversee it. They sometimes are even doing the repairs as the technicians themselves. They're collecting the money. What I noticed whenever I was at Best Roofing and other larger companies is when there was people managing the relationship on the front end that sold, they kept selling. I mean, you guys turned into a prospecting organization that didn't manage relationships well. Now you're a prospecting organization that's managing the relationship better. I just want to ask you, like, if you're a commercial roofer right now, like if you have somebody in service that isn't proactively growing the account, like, is it going to grow? Like, there's a lot of people who stay stuck for a long time, and they stay stuck at $500,000, or maybe they stay stuck at $1 million or $750,000. What would you tell somebody who's like really trying to grow service? If you're like, hey, if I was to come in and run the service sales and re-roof sales of your business to drive service growth, here's what I would do. How would you go about that? Because I think a lot of people stay stuck, and I think a lot of it is a misuse of their time and their focus, and they want to grow it, but they're not making the right decisions.
So there'd be two things that I would do first. The first one would be, I'd go back to all my existing customers, and I would try to be getting them on a proactive maintenance plan. Get some low-hanging fruit, people who already trust you, and see if we can get signed up with that for a reoccurring, service plan, to send out a technician to do an inspection, and just give some action items for them to choose from. They already trust you. They've already bought into your business. That's just some low-hanging fruit there. The second one is, once you've exhausted all that option, you got to proactively go out there and solicit the customers. You got to go find them, right? Like Ryan, like you've always said, the best way to get your foot in the door and to earn trust is to service the roof first. Don't just go and sell them a new roof. Try to service them, solve what the issue is. Now, if they need a new roof, okay, you go that route. But I would say probably 85% to 70% of roofs you're on can probably be serviced in some capacity before they actually need a re-roof.
So you would say, go back to your current customers, solicit them. And so basically think salespeople being proactive, but with existing clients via service first. That would be like the way you would focus their attention. All right. So let's say you have an individual doing that well, and they're building momentum. Then what would you encourage the next step to be for growth?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I've even gotten that far yet with my guys since because we've just recently taken this over, so I'm still trying to get them with the traction. But so you've got the traction, you've already gone back to your existing customers. I would really just encourage them either you're hounding the phones or you're getting in your car and you're finding the cul-de-sacs of your industrial complexes and you're just door knocking. Drones would be a great way. I know Ryan, you and I have talked about this, get on an existing roof that you've done and drone the next building. See if there's any glaring issues that match what you're up there looking at already, and then go knock on those people's doors, show them the picture. Hey, I noticed that your roof had this, and I'm over at XYZ's company looking at the same exact thing. What issues are you guys experiencing? I'd be very surprised if somebody didn't say that they had some issues. Getting out of the office and actually face to face door knocking, which I think is kind of a lost art. We've relied too much on phone calls and emails that we've lost the art of the face to face and human interaction.
Yeah.
I would definitely encourage my salesmen to do that.
Love that. Okay. So I've been in this industry for like 12 years, and there hasn't been a ton of technology options. There's been like 1 to 2 players, 3 players in the tech side of the business. And you guys were with one of those for a long time. Why you guys made a change? And so what my point being, I want you to describe what somebody's process may be like right now, or the frustrations you had that they may be feeling right now. Obviously we talked about what platform you're using, but what are the challenges that others might be facing that is holding them back from growth? What is causing a constraint, whether it's reporting, whether it's the usability, whatever those functions are, the siloed effect. What were you guys experiencing from a tech standpoint that made it frustrating enough to change that somebody else might be feeling right now?
So for me personally, with the previous platform we were using, getting the data was like pulling teeth. I had to go to 7 different pages within the platform to pull the information that I needed. I could get a template made to where it was all in one page, but I had to pay for it. I'm already paying for the platform, and then I'd have to pay more to get some customization. So that was a little frustrating for me personally. So I'm kind of a cheapskate. I like to save my pennies. So I just spent the time to pull from several different places to get my reporting. As far as the usability of the platform was very clunky. It was very frustrating that every time you clicked on a tab, a new page would open. So you could have up to 7 different web browsers open within the platform. It just wasn't a very user-friendly platform. They just didn't seem to upgrade with the times to make it kind of a smoother user interface.
What data were you having difficult seeing that you wanted to see?
Closing ratios, our pipeline, what we had out there, the type of customers we were closing, was it schoolwork? Was it industry work? Was it manufacturing? It was just very clunky to get all of that to where with the platform we're using now, do we have all of that? No, but I know they're working on it. But I have the essential data right there in my face every single day. I have 2 screens on my work desk. I have Terial up here with my reporting, so it's very easy to see the data as I need to see it.
Yeah, one of the things that we preach at SCG is like knowing your numbers, knowing your goals, having visibility. If we want to go from $1 million to $2 million in service sales, we need to track how we're selling against goal visibly with percentages on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis. And we also need to know how many proposals we're putting out, because if we're not putting out the proposal volume and the leads aren't being generated through outbound or organic efforts to generate the proposals, it's not going to make that $2 million goal inevitable. It's not going to happen. And so if you can't see it, you're just like living in a reactionary state and results only state versus being able to manage the business, play offense, drive the team forward, keep them accountable. So I love that you took those thought processes for growth into tech. I think that's really important. I think a lot of people are struggling with the way you guys were struggling before, for sure.
One thing I do kind of want to bring up here that has really helped me as a sales manager, it's very hard to manage someone's pipeline, right? Without the visibility, it's almost impossible. And with Terial, they have a opportunities page, and we made customizable stages of our workflow. And at any given time, I can open that up and I can see which salesman has how many opportunities out there and what stage it's in and the dollar amount per stage. I can easily manage where we're at in our pipeline and what we can forecast is going to close versus what we're working on. And it's just really made my job a lot easier to predict our revenue per quarter.
I think the way that because when I came on board, we were still with the old system, and the way I would describe it is it was almost like most of us have used like a Windows 95, Windows 98 computer back in the day, and it just seemed like it was still based on that platform. You use some of these programs that are super capable, but so many of the features are locked behind a bunch of menus. And unless you're a power user, you don't use more than 10% of the program and it doesn't connect. It's not, easy and seamless. At least for me, that was my experience. And I'm fairly tech savvy, so I don't think it was a limitation there. Then moving on to Terial, it's almost like it would be like using an Apple computer for a lot of people. A lot of people say,
Mhm.
well, it just works, it's simple. The most important things, the 80% of the program that most people use is right out front. It looks attractive, which I know sounds silly, but actually is really pretty important that the user interface is inviting. Things like that all being put together so that you're not fighting to get the data, you're not wasting valuable time to do that. It's out in front.
Yeah, it's modern. It's modern. I love that. So I just want to acknowledge that we have some really good questions in the chat that we want to get to here pretty shortly. But before we did that, Aaron, did you have any additional comments or questions that you want to ask these guys? I have one more, so just as you're getting ready. We didn't really get to this yet. Can you guys share 25 million in total sales, or is it 25 million in reroof? And then what's been the scenario with service over the last couple of years, like in terms of its revenue and the growth trajectory, knowing that a lot of these changes are more recent, and then we're seeing those, go into effect with like salespeople taking over sales and then the new tech. But can you guys just share, just so people can really, have a gauge of where they are, where you guys are with respect to the business?
Yeah, so the $25 million number would be overall. And in terms of service, I believe 3 years ago, we were around 1.8. And now this year, we're probably tracking for closer to 2.5. And really, this year is a bit of a transitional year, both in terms of leadership in the service department and some of the transitions that have been brought in terms of having sales move over to the sales department. So I would say we're still gaining traction, and not this year would not be a great barometer for where our trajectory is because we're just getting traction and getting situated with some of the new processes. But definitely, I feel really happy with some of the early results, the early returns on that switch. And I'm pretty confident that with Ian's oversight on the sales side, that number is going to go up substantially. Plus, we opened a new location this year, so
That's good.
that should drive some service.
So I got a quick question, then Aaron, I'm going to give it to you. All right, then I'm done. I promise. You guys live in rural Ohio. So I've been at your office. I'm like, bro, I'm in like small town USA. That's how I felt when I was there. I'm like, where am I right now? I'm like, I feel like I'm in Smallville or something for Superman maybe. I'm from South Florida, and then, lived in Dallas, lived in different metropolitans, but you guys are in a rural area. So like how have you guys seen so much growth in a rural area? Does that mean there's just less competition and you're like, it is what it is? Or how have you guys been able to scale and see so much growth in terms of new leads and new accounts and servicing accounts with, a pretty rural, widespread area you serve?
So I actually think our location's great. We're an hour away from Toledo. We're about an hour and a half away from Cleveland, 2 hours depending on where at in Columbus. So we can service three of the four major cities in Ohio. Well, now with Dayton, our Dayton location, we can service Cincinnati and Dayton. So the location was kind of good for us because we could service a lot of the customers easily on the service side and then, on the re-roof side as well. I will say that, we're going on year 50 next year of being in business. That has helped us out tremendously. Brand recognition and people just knowing who we are. There's plenty of competition. I could probably, go a country mile in 4 directions and hit 7 different roofing companies. So there's
Wow.
a lot of competition around here.
Mhm.
We all don't do the same materials. Some still do torch down and BUR. So that kind of segments that. But I would just say we've been really proactive with prospecting. That's kind of been the
Yeah.
one good thing that Damschroder's done from the very get-go was prospecting for new business consistently.
Talk to us about the Dayton office. What drove that decision? How many people have you hired for it? What are the goals there? Because that's exciting to me that you guys have opened up a new office.
We've grown tremendously up here up north, and we would still get jobs down in Southern Ohio, 3, 4 hours away. We just got to talking. If we can be competitive working out of our office up here, we can be even more competitive by being closer. We made the decision to open up a location down in Dayton, which we did that in what, July?
Yep.
So I mean, it's very
Brand new.
brand new.
Yeah.
We have hired one salesman down there who's gaining some traction
Mhm.
on the service side, which will help grow that down there. My personal goals is to have that within 3 years be a 10 to $12 million location. Very little overhead.
Mhm.
So I
At
mean,
this point, yeah.
it'd be a lot of bottom line revenue. Even when we're up and running, I think it's still going to be very little overhead.
Mhm.
I do have a plan of maybe getting another salesman down there by the end of next year. But as far as other people down that location, I think the only plan was to really have some technicians to
Mhm.
do the service work that we have. And that's really about it,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, the growth strategy as far as, why Dayton and what are we hoping to accomplish really does revolve a lot around service. So it's a good question, Aaron. You do these re-roofs and you assume obligations in doing them to service those roofs. For us, if we do a re-roof that's 4 hours away, south of us, and we have to go back there for any reason, that's a 4 hour trip each way. Instead, we have a location in Dayton and it's an hour and a half. That's a lot more feasible. Really just trying to expand the service territory, make it so that when we do re-roofs, when we do service work, we're just closer to the action.
Yeah, I
And
mean, when you lead with service and you have a prospecting culture and you have a sales model that's been proven and your service operations smooth, you just have weapons. You have options to think about. All right, I want to get to some of these questions. So Aaron, I'm going to start with these first from Kevin, and then
Yeah.
can you grab Julia's? I do want to share with you guys that we have some resources available before we get too caught up in these. If you want a demo of Terial, set up this. And if you want to connect with me on a sales action plan call to grow commercial sales, we've been in this for 7.5 years. For me, total of 12. I have a track record of helping commercial sales teams grow sales. And so if you guys want help with that, there's a little link to book. I'll get you another one. So you guys I'd love to connect with you. All right. So Kevin's questions: how are you getting leads for recurring maintenance work, specifically when there's not necessarily a currently known leak issue?
So we're just asking the customer on, we've already done the job. We're talking with the customer and it's, hey, you got internal drains up there. What are you guys doing to make sure those things don't get clogged? Oh, we're sending Bob up there and he's got to go do that. Oh man. What else does Bob do? Oh, Bob's got to make sure that all the machines run smoothly. Hey, wouldn't it be more efficient if you just let us take care of that and you kept Bob doing what Bob does and
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about him getting up on a roof and slipping and falling or, whatever thing you
Mm.
can think of there. But, let us do the roof work for you. Let us just make sure your roof is performing, you're not holding water. Another thing that we've done that I've seen a lot of traction with is let us get up on your roof and at the very least give you an inspection report or an evaluation report so you have it on record for your insurance purposes. We've been seeing a lot of traction there. That way, when they go to make an insurance claim, they have documentation that, hey, the last time I was up, I had someone up here, there was nothing wrong with the roof, and here's my documentation on it. So this is a weather claim or something of that nature. We've been seeing a lot of roof maintenance packages talking with the
Mhm.
customer in that regard.
What's your pricing for preventative maintenance work? How do you price it?
We give it to our estimator in the service department, and he estimates every single one. There's a lot of different variabilities, size, complexity, distance. So he kind of figures that out all on his own for every single roof. And it varies. It really
Mhm.
does.
So you custom estimated, it's not like a price, the number of cents per square foot rounded up.
We talked about that, but as we talked through it, there's just so many different variables that we just couldn't customize it like that.
Got it. How frequently are you on each building for maintenance?
So if we're doing a maintenance package, standard's 1 year, but we've had customers go, can I get it twice a year? Can I get it 4 times a year? We've had customers go, can I go ahead and get a 5 year? Yeah, we love that. Let's go
When you
ahead
say
and
5 year or 5 per year?
five years. So they wanted to sign for 5 years, one visit for each year.
One bit, yeah. And did you have sometimes you do 2 visits per year in some contracts?
Yeah, we've had one customer ask for quarterly, so for 4 times a year. But I say at least once, that's best practice, but twice would be best.
That's a proactive customer. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. How do you pay your salesmen for the recurring maintenance contracts?
I believe because they're usually low dollar, they're like $1,500 is like average. I think it's like 150 per contract. I mean, it's pretty simple.
10% or something like or less, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple. What we're really trying to do is just making sure we're up on the roofs and being proactive and looking at it and giving the customers action items, and then they're making money off of those as well.
This is from Julia. She's asking about how your hiring process looks for sales team members. Can you talk about that, and then what the average tenure of your salesperson is?
Yeah, so we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 salesmen that are W-2s. I've only had to ever let go of one in my tenure here as the director. My oldest salesman has been with the company for 25 years. Started out in the field installing and then moved up to service, and then he got moved up to sales before I became the director. And I've hired 3 guys since. 2 of them were from the service department, and we moved them into sales. One of them was a complete outside hire. We had purchased a building and we were remodeling it. He was the carpet salesman for us, and the owner was actually interviewing him while he was selling him flooring. And it just so happened that this particular gentleman's dad owned the company and he was going to be selling, and nobody really wanted to stick around for the person that was going to be buying it. So it was kind of just a perfect alignment on how that happened. I have not really had to go outside and really interview anybody particularly. So I can't really speak to that.
Yeah.
Just to be honest.
And no, we do not have a full-time recruiter. That was another question, I think.
Yeah. My salesman down south was just networking, and he was looking for a change, and we were able to get him interested.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is great when you can find that. Not always the case.
How do you handle sales reps who don't know anything about roofing or service? Like, what do you do about that? How do you unlock that so that there's salesmen selling and overcoming that knowledge gap?
So my training process is for the first 3 months, I have a salesman that has, if they have roofing experience or they don't, they're glued to my hip. We start out making calls together. Any opportunity they get, I go out with them. And we're just walking the roof together, and we're going over what we're looking for, what's this, what's that. And that way, my department, we all speak the same language. We all know what we're doing. It kind of standardizes the process. We do the same thing the same way every time. It really eliminates issues. Me being out in the field has really helped me with my knowledge and being able to pass that on. If my sales guys wanted to get more, I would have no issues for maybe sending them out on a crew for a week just so they can get some hands-on experience with the guys. There's no better way to learn than in-person hands-on learning. So that's kind of how I handle that, and it's worked pretty well. I've also been blessed with guys who do have roofing knowledge, so that has also been a blessing.
Have you guys used paid appointment setting services for lead generation?
We do use one outside leads generation company that does territories. They've gotten us leads. We've closed work off of them, but it's more transactional until we really get involved. So there's been a lot of like tire kickers, if you will. They're not as good as the leads that my sales guys or our in-house lead generators would generate.
Are you guys using subs for service and re-roofs, or all full-time employees?
Yeah, so I would say 95% of our service work we do in-house. We do occasionally sub out certain kinds of work, sometimes coatings. We've recently dove into a little bit of labor assistance with some subs. So kind of a hybrid crew, a handful of our own techs, and then augment that with a handful from the sub. And that's jury's still out on whether that's going to be effective or not. We're just kind of trying to balance out staffing needs and schedule. Thankfully, we have a pretty decent backlog of work. So just, that's a constant navigating difficulty as far as balancing the schedule because it can ebb and flow, to such extremes. But mostly we do our service work in-house, and we have about 12 service techs that are on staff here to be able to handle that.
For the initial inspection, and I'm assuming that we're talking about preventative maintenance, is that typically done by the account manager or a service estimator who's on site doing the inspection?
So if it's a maintenance program package, that would actually be a service technician going out and doing that. If it's the initial inspection of just someone that you've generated a lead from and they say, come out and take a look at my roof, I'm having leaks, that would be the account manager, the salesman. And like I said, we're able to use Terial in a way that really streamlines it. Now, if the salesman goes out there and it's way beyond their capabilities of collecting all the information, we'll collect what we can. We'll come back. We'll sit down with the service estimator, and he'll say, "Hey, I need more information." Either the service estimator will go out with them, or we'll pull in one of the more experienced service techs to also go out with them, and we'll do a second site with it.
Jeff asks to follow up on the compensation for service work to the rep. 150 plus a base salary, or just 150 on the service deals? And what about replacements? How do you pay for replacements? And then what's the average gross margin you're selling and coming in at on the service division? So two questions for you.
Yeah. So as far as the salesman's pay structure, they're base plus commission. That's what they are.
Is that a commission on maintenance, or is that a one-time bonus that's separate just for maintenance, but there's a commission for larger scope and replacement?
So any service ticket that they sell, they get a commission based off of that. And then for any preventive maintenance package, they just get a flat 150 for the package. We go out on the package and there's $20,000 worth of repairs and they decide to do all that. Well, they get a percentage of that $20,000 worth of repairs.
What's the average margin you're getting on the service department?
Right now, about 65 to 70% gross. Yeah. And that's always an interesting discussion that I have with other companies because everybody defines it a little differently in terms of gross, between 65 and 70. And that
profit grossly overstated. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Ryan. That number has been creeping up since we moved things over to the salesman doing
this. Yes, because they've been sales trained on selling value. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's no coincidence. All right.
I had to meet with my service estimator. He's always like, if we got to go down lower, I'm like, lower, we should be going up higher. What are you doing, man?
The best lead gen source is a door knocking. If you want to build a business from scratch, let's say, what would you do if you don't have any existing customers to reach out to, cold from scratch? What would you do?
Oof, man, that's a tough one. If you're trying to be efficient with your time, cold calling is going to be, you're going to be able to reach out to more people. However, your conversion ratio is going to be a lot lower.
Like every 100 calls, you may get,
three people actually on the phone. Yeah.
3 people on the phone, and they may one or two of those will let you on their building, right?
Right. To where if you actually go out in person and door knock, one, you might uncover a potential lead, and 2, you can get up on the roof right then and there if time allows it. So, I mean, really, I want to do one more than the other, especially if it's raining. Door knocking might not be efficient. Well, it also might be. I'm gonna actually retract that. It might be because they might actually have an active leak that you can uncover right then and there.
Walking around with an umbrella, Damschroder umbrella.
Right. So I would do a blended, but I'd probably focus more on the door knocking, the face-to-face value, because everybody's cold calling.
And one thing I love to do, guys, that it's called a sales blitz. And let me just give you a quick tip of what we do when we work with some companies. We get the whole crew, okay? We get everybody on the team especially sales management, whatever. And you guys all put the shirts on, you go 2 by 2 and you just like get into an industrial plaza, get into an area and you say, we're meeting here, you get together and you go and you come back and then you count, here's how many doors we knocked. Here's how many conversations we had, and you track it, and it's kind of a fun competition, and you guys will be blown away. Like you'll be like, wow, we touched 20 buildings. We were able to talk to 16 people. We got 14 cards, and we actually got 5 appointments out of this because people have identified issues. And you could kind of just make it a first block before lunch, and then grab lunch together and go back to the office, or you do it. You meet up and you finish the afternoon like that. Even if you have a big sales team, you guys should do a sales blitz once a month and get everybody in one market that you want to penetrate. And then everybody just goes hard together. It builds a lot of energy and camaraderie. Prospecting is like a muscle, just like working out. Like, man, some of you guys don't work out very much, but if you go into a CrossFit class or a group class and everybody's doing it, you kind of get more like this peer environment. You're like, let's go. Same with prospecting. So you can really kind of turn that up with the sales blitz. You guys can connect with Ron and Ian on LinkedIn. Their emails are here. If you guys have not had a demo and you're a commercial roofing contractor, look at Terial. And if you guys want to talk with me, we have programs from, hey, we have a small team and we don't have a big budget, to we have a lot of margin, but we really want to scale up and we want a lot of support at STG. You guys can book a call with me. I have this link in the chat that I put twice in there now. Put it again. And you guys can schedule time with me and I'll just chat with you about how we can help partner with you at STG from a sales training, sales process, sales strategy, and all that, and managing and leading a team on commercial roofing. Appreciate you guys, Ron and Ian. Appreciate you guys very much. Have any feedback for us, just send an email or just shoot us a call. We love to just learn more about what you think. You love to hear from us on this program and do more of it. But you should see something every 6 weeks or so. We'll be promoting another program, and I want to just continue to build this community up because this is a great spot if you want to grow your commercial roofing business. So,
Ian, Ron, it's a pleasure as always, and thanks everyone for the questions. Feel free to reach out to any of us. We want to be a resource for you.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. See ya.
Thank you.
Awesome.